Welcome, everyone, to the Your Energy First podcast. I'm your host, Emily Marie, and it is such a pleasure to have you here today to co-create with you in this space and to talk about all things your energy. Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. It is such a pleasure to have you here in this container, in this space. And one of the first things I get to point out, oh my gosh, this is so funny. So every podcast episode is intentional. I hold space for the highest good of all involved. And when we engage with anyone's energy, what we're watching on TV, listening to a podcast, talking to someone, going through the grocery store, we're always interacting with their energy, which is kind of crazy. It doesn't just mean you have to be there in person. And I always hold space, again, for the highest good of all involved. And that's really important. It's actually one of the things we're going to talk about today. But it's so funny because I hold space for what needs to come through. And apparently this message around the throat chakra is still very prominent. I need to pause and clear my throat for the 6th time. This is honestly the 4th time I've started re-recording this podcast. 1 second. Okay, message received. So as a note to this throat chakra clearing, the guides are saying it's this activation, it's this remembering. I'm also holding space for spirit team, which includes spirit guides, to come through with any messages that are meant for the group, a group of individuals within the people that listen to this. I don't know if they're ever going to deliver just specific individual messages, but anything's possible. And the reason I say that is because you're going to hear me reference my guides and my spirit team. I want to make it crystal clear. I connect directly with source, and my intention is always what needs to be said, done, or delivered for the highest good. That includes my own best health. So I like to keep things very simple. Even though I communicate with my spirit guides and spirit team directly, I always feel comfort. I feel a softness. It's a back and forth interaction with them. I have free will. I get to decide when I just need to sort of relax and turn it off. And they're joking with me right now. They're like, would you do that more, please? But it's so fun. So the reason I bring all of this up is because as you practice your intuition, as you practice connecting with your spirit guides and spirit team more, and you learn from myself and you learn from others too, it's important to know that the way you do this isn't going to look exactly like what you're experiencing via someone else. And I also want to make it really clear that when I'm holding space, doing my work, my life's purpose, which one version of it is this podcast, and I hold space and I'm aligned, and it flows so easily because I'm aligned. And then for me personally, when I'm going through lessons in life, or I'm making decisions that are out of alignment and I'm not getting clarity from my spirit guides or spirit team, or I feel like things are, I'm pushing rocks uphill, that is when they are not as crystal clear. It's so easy for me to hear, understand spirit and other people's spirit teams when the situation is meant for that versus, me just humding along my day. They're not dropping in, giving me perfect set guidance for every little thing. That's why they always say we are a resource for you. This is so funny. I just had to pause to clear my throat yet again. Keep in mind, I've been fine all day. And here we go with a throat chakra message. Okay. But it is important to note that there's really no end goal for you with your intuition. And remember, it's a tool. It's a tool to help you learn more about yourself. That's the whole purpose of your intuition is, what is my purpose? How do I live my best life? How do I feel good more often in the day-to-day? And also, how do I soothe and coach myself through the challenging times? I had a friend say to me not too long ago that she was impressed with the way that I had processed something. And I said, well, I've been through this before or something similar before, and I've learned the tools. And that's the whole point, is that we learn these tools so that as we continue to grow with life and life continues to be challenging, which it always will be, that we just learn the different ways to make it easier for ourselves if we can. Okay, so the throat chakra. I just got reminded yet again. This cracks me up. So a big lesson in what I'm sharing here about how I keep pausing and clearing my throat is that when you are working with your intuition, remember that it can come to you in so many different ways. So for me, I felt like, well, I've already touched on the throat chakra in past, this is my humanness, in past podcasts. I did a throat chakra clearing podcast that I felt guided to do. And then, geez. So in my mind, I thought, well, that's enough. Let's move forward. And that was my mind. And then I held space for this session and a bunch of things came through. And I'm excited to talk about that. And at the same time, this lesson for our throat chakra keeps coming through in spades. So just note that even for me, someone who does this for a living and loves this work, we're all interpreting our intuition in different ways. There's not one solid way you're going to interpret your own personal intuition. So one of the ways that this came through for me was obviously it was a slow trickle. It was met with my human resistance. And so the guides were like, oh, we're just going to turn up your throat chakra a notch. And until you realize that we're actually sending you the memo, you need to talk to people about the throat chakra more. And I just cleared my throat yet again. All right. So one of the things that Spirit's pointing out right now, Spirit is what I call the activation of Source. And when I mentioned that I connect directly with Source with my intentions, what that means is that Source then puts forward different energies to support whatever's being called on for the highest good to be done in this session today. And that means that different specialists, different versions of Spirit, and different energies that are of the light that are here to help us clear and process are going to come forward to do so, which is really cool. And it also means that we as humans our ego gets to let go a little bit of what we think we need, who we think we need to call on, what it needs to look like. They're saying we will have so much more fun. You will have so much more fun exploring your intuition and your energy when you let go a bit. So they're showing me if you go to your inner light or whatever you call your inner light. By the way, does anyone call their inner light something different? I'd be curious to know that. So imagine you go to your inner light and you just feel it or you envision it expanding and expanding and expanding, and breathe into your inner light right now. And say, show me what's possible. Show me what I am capable of for my highest good. I know there's more, and I'm ready for it. And so it is. And you're connected to your light when you said those things. And when we're connected to our light, when we set these intentions, it helps make sure it kind of puts into place this for the highest good of all involved naturally. However, energy responds to integrity, and the more integrity you have with energy, the more you receive, the more you get. And that's part of releasing ego too, is saying, hey, this is what I really want, but I have to remember there's more than just me involved, therefore highest good of all involved. Now, of course, what you just said was for you specifically expanding your intuition and energy, which means it's going to align with your soul's highest path. Highest path is an interesting one I need to talk about at a later date, but basically we have, let me see here. Just want to make sure I get Spirit's wording right. They say the purpose of living in the here and the now is that there is a semi-optimum path for each of us, and it all looks a little bit differently. And this is not about right or wrong, but they're saying it's why you're here. It's why you're doing this work. It's why you're craving more in your life. And this is where the throat chakra comes into place. The chakra throat, the throat chakra. So your throat chakra, obviously, is something that helps you live out your life's purpose. And so what Spirit's saying is what we want you to look for right now in your day to day, in your week to week, in your month to month, is where are you vocalizing, projecting the same things you always have? Where is that coming through for you? And where does it need to change? Wow. That's big. That's big. I'm actually asking them right now if we're going to elaborate on that in the rest of this podcast and kind of let that sit, or if they want me to talk about some of the other things. And it looks like this is going to be the main topic of this podcast, because sometimes we need to let the energy settle in and then unravel within your system so that you can, they say, peak and guide it. So that's a big reflection point. That's a big reflection point for all of us. And I think it's a really pointed one. But this is a big theme right now. This is a big theme right now, is what is it that is not. They say this is why we get frustrated when our life looks the same, yet we're changing so much internally. They say this is the missing piece, is reflecting on, okay, so what is going to make sense for me to evolve from? That sounds so heavy. Let's see. I'm asking them for different words. They say we put too much emphasis on things like evolution and transformation. It's funny because I used transformation earlier in this podcast recording. I don't remember if it was this podcast recording or one of the other 4 I had to do to clear my throat before we got to this one. But they say we want to kind of relax a little bit and not look as transformation and evolution as like a one and done, or as something so monumentous. Is monumentous a word? Monumental? They want us to look at it more as, okay, I'm in this constant shift of energy. It's funny because what they visually showed me was energy, but the words that they showed me or that they gave was emotion. And we know that emotions are energy. And what's happening is when you sit down and they're saying evaluate where you are saying the same things, making the same decisions. They say you think you're going with the flow, but are you going with the flow, or are you just going the path of least resistance? That is a great question. Whew. Whew. Yeah, they're saying all of this is not for naught. So this is where the challenge comes up, is that we're going to keep feeling, they're saying, kind of icky inside, kind of unsettled, sort of like we're not quite whole. We're not feeling as vibrant as we know we're meant to, because we are going with the flow. We're not willing to meet the resistance head on. So that's why there's this big misconception out there that the path, once I'm aligned. As soon as I started walking my path of alignment, it was like this giant just ish show of stuff, like a tidal wave of, oh, you're ready to be aligned. Guess what? We've got a smorgasbord of things for you to work on. And here I was already doing my work, right? Doing my inner work. And then the next stuff showed up. But I don't think it happens in that way for everyone. The point is that when you start to consciously become more aligned, things are a bit crunchy for a while, and they are challenging still, because you've been living your life a certain way. And now you're choosing to evolve. That kind little word, evolve. And a lot needs to change sometimes when we evolve and when we want things to be different. And we need to get out of our comfort zones and be less in the flow and more aligned. Okay, so that is the throat chakra work. And they are saying it does specifically come down to how we're using our voice. So I'm asking them for some examples right now. And while they are downloading examples into my humanness, into my brain, I do want to share something that happened to me today. I actually did a human design reading. It was my second one. And human design readers, people that read the charts, everybody has, it's kind of like energy healing. I mean, you go see an energy intuitive, what are you seeing them for? Could be any kind, all sorts of things, right? Myself included. And so there's so many different types of practitioners out there. There's so many different types of people that deliver the human design story, your human design story differently. And I always think it's good to be able to educate yourself on these things. And at the same time, others will help you see blind spots. So what I thought was interesting today is this individual shared with me the transits that my current human design elements are going through And to the right of it was the general mass transits that humanity is going through. And what do you think was lit up? Throat chakra. Oh my goodness gracious. I laugh because when I'm holding space, source is running an energy for me to support you. We hold the resonance and tone for each other. It's called co-creating. Every human does it all the time. But when I'm in this intentional space, they're running an energy that feels so good and tickles my fancy. And it's a high vibration. And then and this is part of the reason why I run energy for myself throughout the day, is because it clears my mind. It helps transform my vibration. It also helps give me clarity on what my next step is for, if I'm going through a healing process, if I'm going through a happy phase, if I need to figure out what's for dinner, whatever. But all this giggling is not me on a 24/7 basis. So again, intuition, energy, your energy is going to come through in a variety of different ways. So how are you looking at expanding your intuition? Are you willing to say, hey, I'm open to what's for my highest good? Which is the practice and the intention that we set earlier in this episode. Okay. So let's see, the human design aspect and seeing that transit was validation for me. It also, my ego made it feel like, oh my gosh, it's a cheat sheet. And that can be good for some people, right? Is to know, hey, this is what I'm feeling, or I've been noticing this. And then we can go onto different websites and see that this is what the masses are going through energetically. How do they know this? How do people know this and put it down into that format? I have no idea, but thank goodness for people like that. Okay, so the next and final message, of course, is our spirit guides, our spirit team. They're wanting to give us permission. They're wanting to give you permission to let your intuition develop with you slowly. And you and I are not of the seed where slow is good. Well, it is in some cases. I can think of a few cases it's really good. But it is also something where going slower is, they're saying, here's the irony. If you have patience, observation, intention, go slower with your intuition, they say it actually helps you adapt it faster. It helps you integrate it faster. They say the more patience you have, the easier it becomes for you to understand what is coming to you. It gives you a sense of safety because you're going slow. And then your reaction, they say in the human mind, is calculated, which is also that sense of safety. And what they mean by that is you feel a sense of trust in your intuition. And that's one of the biggest things I hear from other people is, I don't trust my intuition. And it's because we're expecting really quick hits, quick, clear, precise information. And in order for our intuition to work with us on an everyday basis, it needs to show up in a variety of different forms. I just asked them why that is. They said that it's primarily because oh my gosh, as they mean this very lovingly, but it's like, yeah, I have permission to say this, but they say as sweet, dumb humans, you would just outsource everything to us, which they've been saying for a long time. So there we go. And of course, they talk about our humanness in a very loving way. And our soul is very bright and very conscious and very aware and very beautiful and very intelligent. And we've been given these human genes for a reason. So, okay. The other thing that they are bringing up right now, when it comes to the going slow, so those are some pretty big words of wisdom for us all today to help us on our journey and move forward in a way they say that's meant to be more supportive. Your journey doesn't have to feel vacant and challenging all the time. That's why they say build in fun, schedule in fun, they're saying for some of you, allow yourself to have fun. Don't feel guilt when you have fun. Okay. And same goes, fun, relaxing, same. For those of you who define your worth by production and output, that's a very human trait. So the other piece I'm going to touch on is there have been some questions about ways to work with me. So you can go to my website. One-on-one sessions are there. I open them up for October. And this retreat, I am going to be hosting another retreat next year, at least one that's going to be in person. And then I am going to do a virtual one. So it is going to have similar material as this upcoming retreat, but it is not going to be as intensive. Okay, so that is it for today's session, time together. How are you feeling? How are you feeling? What is your truth about how you're feeling right now? Nobody has to know. But think about it. And if I'm feeling good, I say this feels good. I'd like more of this. Sometimes if I'm feeling challenged, I say, Spirit, I need you to provide me clarity. I need you to please provide me with more information. How do I evolve past this? And then the worst is when they're like, you need to sit in it a bit longer. That is the worst. But it happens, and it also has to do with our going slow, right? And that's how we integrate things further. Some lessons have to go slow. It does not mean you are doing anything wrong. I promise. It just means there's more to integrate. I asked my guides recently if I had missed a memo, missed a lesson, and their meaning, because it took me so long to work through. And they said, how could you? How could you miss it? Divine timing is a real thing. It's a real thing. And they're saying we give you space and time to integrate some of these really big, massive lessons, which if you're here listening to this podcast, you're integrating some big, massive lessons. So I hope you can give yourself exactly what it is you need today, tonight. And at the same time, think about the fact that every moment you carve out in your day, in your experience, to give yourself energetic fuel, meaning reaching out for support from Source, your spirit team, connecting with your higher self, doing a meditation, you are expanding yourself far beyond your wildest dreams. You are expanding yourself, and your energetic muscle is building. And you're really nurturing all those things that you desire within you to come forward, to come to fruition. So get into that discomfort. Speak up for what it is that you need. Look at ways where you're not speaking in your truth, in your alignment anymore. And this may take time, right? Some of you are going to sit down and journal with this. Some of you are going to meditate on it. Some of you are not going to think about it for a while, and then it's going to pop up again. Some of you may ruminate about it on a walk and allow these things to come forward to you over time too. That's the slowness. That's the sinking in piece. So I have opened the door for October one-on-one sessions. You can find those on my website, emilymarie.com, under drop down work with me. And the Reset and Renew retreat is this week. I am so excited. I'm getting to hold space for this retreat in a way that I would want someone to hold space for me. We're going to be doing a lot of work on energy activations, raising awareness of intuition, and I'm going to be announcing another one of these retreats for 2023. So if you are interested and you also want to go to a space where, the whole purpose of the activations and the raising the awareness of your intuition is all to help you be in further alignment with yourself, with your highest and best path. I'm asking the guides right now. I'm like, aren't they all great? And they're like, well, yeah. But again, you all are here for, this life in particular. Let me see here. I don't really like it when we start talking about energies being, more special than other times. And they're saying it's not that. They're so funny. They're like, it's just a matter of fact. We all learn, oh, interesting. Yeah, we all learn different things in different lifetimes. And that's just what this one is about, obviously. Kind of jumping, they say it's just we're shedding so much. And it's interesting. They're also saying how this will be like the last human life for a lot of people. But here's what's funny about that. Do you think it's just Earth in our universe? Like it's just Earth. It's just Earth hanging out, chilling with people on it, experiencing life. Obviously, you and I know that's not the case. So there's ample worlds, universes, existences out there that you and I have experienced beyond just Earth as we know it. And our energies explore all of these different realms. Not all of them, but a lot of them. So whether or not it's your last year on planet Earth, doesn't really matter. There's so much more out there. So many other cool things for your soul to go do. So if that doesn't convince you to go a bit slower and smell the roses or do whatever it is that makes you happy today and do it with someone if you feel like it, then I don't know what will, because we are all just little beacons of light hanging out, and everywhere we go, we're going to be beacons of light. So I hope you get exactly what you need. I've already said it. I'll say it again. I look forward I just remembered one other thing. I said I would update you guys on the breast massage. So it was a great experience. I asked the gal who's doing it, she's truly following one of her purposes, one of her talents. It was not like she didn't use lotion. She explained what she was doing because it was our first time together. I rebooked with her, and I'm assuming that she would explain it less if I were not a first-time client. She didn't use any lotion. It wasn't like, I wouldn't even almost call it a massage. She worked on my scalp, my shoulders, front and back, and then the chest muscles. And then when it came to the actual breast piece, it was like formal lymphatic moves and underneath the armpit too. And I really appreciated it. And she said it's just as important for women without breast ailments to do this work for ourselves. And I asked her if she's ever going to put out something that teaches women, and I'm assuming men need this too, how to do this for ourselves. Because I was thinking, I go, you go to the doctor and you see that sign they have in the shower where it's like, have you checked for lumps lately? And that's a scary thing, right? I mean, who wants to, okay, I'm going to check for lumps. But to know there's something we can proactively do to care for this really important part of our body, I think is so important. So anyway, 10 out of 10 recommend. Always go with your gut if it feels right for you. And if you have the means in your city to do it and it feels right, I recommend it. And when and if this individual does have a website and creates an offering on how to do this for yourself, I will be sure to share it on the podcast. Why don't I just invite her on the podcast? Well, here we go. I think that because, of course, I had to ask her about how her intuition helps her develop the work she does. And so we got onto that tangent. But then I felt conflicted because I was supposed to be enjoying my massage, and I'm a quiet person when I receive massages. I'm like, please don't talk to me. I need to just relax right now. And I told her, I was like, I need to shut up. I could talk to you about this the whole time you're working on me, and I need to relax. And she was amazing, and she totally understood. Okay. So I'll have her on the podcast. And overarching message is go where you feel guided and do the really good, luxurious things for yourself. We all have different interests. Mine is wellness and all types of holistic wellness. That's where I prefer to spend my money, and I love it. And I love to share my experiences with you. Until next time, I wish you all the best from the light in my heart to yours. Thanks so much for listening to today's episode. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a review, and make sure you've signed up for the newsletter for special insights, offerings, and announcements that are just for you.